Evening, new parents to St. Catherine of Siena Catholic School. Normally, we have a new parent orientation the weekend before students begin. And, well, we're not going to be able to meet in person, so we thought we'd organize this video for you to be able to see some of the ins and outs that make St. Catherine a little unique and how you can best prepare your student for their first days at St. Catherine. Joining me today, I've got Elaine Klinzik, who is our associate principal. I've got our two kindergarten teachers, Kendall Herman and Rebecca Shalacy. And then I have our two PTO board member representatives, our president, Megan McElroy, and our treasurer, Hillary Walbridge. So thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully the presentation is not going to be too terribly boring. We're going to run through it as quickly as possible or as thoroughly as possible. But if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to call or contact the school office, and we'll be sure to answer all of the many questions you have before school starts. So the first things first, we're going to talk about our mission. We're going to talk about dress code. We're going to talk about drop off and pickup. We'll talk about our office procedures, how we communicate chiefly, how you can join your child at school, which looks a little bit different this year than most years. We'll talk about our PTO, which you are all members of. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about our student activities, and then again, give you an opportunity to talk to us if you have any questions. And then the ASQ screener for kindergarten students especially is what we'll talk about there as well. So our mission at St. Catherine of Siena Catholic School is to learn, love, and live in God's presence. Each year, our teachers look at this mission statement, which seems very simple. It's nice because it's all alliteration. It all has L's in there, but it also is very deep and rich in how we learn in God's presence, how we love in God's presence, and how we live in God's presence. And we know that we are successful in our mission when our students leave our school and move on to whatever school they choose after us, and they are able to continuously live in God's presence. So it's been rewarding to see our students be able to do these things in the past couple of years as our school has finally grown to the point where we have an 8th grade class and have moved on to Bishop Carroll or Mays High School. And they've done amazing things at those schools and have carried on our mission. Down to the nitty gritty, our dress code. Boys kind of have it a little easy. They get to wear red, white, or navy blue button-down front button polo style shirts. Short or long sleeve works good. And navy blue pants. Our uniform provider is School Bells. They do a pretty good job of making sure you get exactly what you need. So if you have questions, School Bells is a good one to contact. We don't necessarily require that you have School Bells pants, but that they are navy blue pants and that they have a blue, black or brown belt. Tennis shoes are preferred, especially on PE days. And a quarter zip sweatshirt is available from School Bells that unfortunately you do have to get from School Bells, as well as the cardigan or pullover sweater. Girls have it a little bit more specific, just because the jumper and the skirts have to be from School Bells. They are the only ones that provide our plaid. They also can wear red, white, or navy blue plain style blouses with a small collar or short or long sleeve, or a button front polo style shirt. They can wear white, black, or blue socks or leggings. They have black shorts under the skirt. They have tennis shoes as well, quarter zip sweatshirts from School Bells, and a cardigan or pullover sweater there from School Bells as well. If you have not contacted School Bells yet, they are pretty good about making sure you get exactly what you need. Our PTO also has a good used uniform sale, which I think most of us took advantage of in July. Our drop-off procedures this year may change ever so slightly. We're looking at balancing the number of students who enter from the north side or the south side of the school. But either way you go, there is a quick drop-off lane indicated by the pink arrows there. You enter from one side of the drive, and then you pull up close to the curb as quickly or as close to the curb as possible. Students hop out of the car on that side after they take the temperatures this year, and then they can head off to class. There are, if you, with your kindergartners, and I know your preschool teachers especially, are going to work really hard to make sure that our students feel welcome and can enter the building there through the early childhood entrance so that their anxieties are eased as they enter through the building, but you can walk them up to the door, but unfortunately we can't have you in the building this year, or, well, for now. Hopefully there'll be a time where you'll be able to walk your student into class. It's just not yet. Our pickup pickup procedures. Everyone will be on the south side. Our kindergarten students will be right outside the kindergarten door. First and second grade students, they're closer down the sidewalk. Will be pretty spread out on the sidewalk to help promote some social distancing and things like that. But students do need to be picked up by a parent or an older sibling there from their teacher. They give the teacher an elbow bump or a high five or a wave, well, not really a high five, an air five and a wave as they go by, and the teacher knows that you picked them up. Please be aware that it's a school parking lot, so watch out for kids, drive slow, all of those good things to notice. All of this information is pretty quick here on the slideshow, but it is available on our school website and will be part of future communications from the school office, so be on the lookout for that. Also, don't forget to share it with any of your carpool friends and or grandma and grandpa or sitter or whomever is going to pick up your son or daughter so that they know the procedures as well. Some more procedures. We want your child here as much as you do, probably more, because it's been a long time since we've seen students in our building, and we really, really, really want to see them. We want to see their smiling faces when we can, and watch them learn and have fun. Because as good as it's been to connect with kids through a screen, it's just not the same. So we really want your kids here as much as possible. If your child is ill, though, they need to stay home. There's some very specific guidelines, which, again, with future communication, you'll know specifically what those guidelines are or those symptoms are. But if your child's ill, they need to stay home. And if they are home, you need to contact our secretary, Melanie Tidball, at mtidball@stcatherinewichita.com, or Carrie Proct is our administrative assistant. Either one of them, as well as your child's teacher, will need to know if your student is absent so that they can report to the teacher and ask appropriate follow-up questions. If we haven't seen your child by 9 o'clock, we're going to give you a call and say, hey, where are you? We miss you. If you have any deliveries, like they were in the drop-off lane and they forgot a lunch or a backpack or a snack or whatever, just leave it at the office and we can deliver it to the classroom. Email is our chief form of communication at St. Catherine. And Messenger is our email service that we use to contact all of our parents, and mass emails. We can do it grade levels at a time, classrooms at a time, but most of the times it's whole school emails. Your teacher also has emails that she will connect with you as a chief form of communication. On top of that, they'll be using Seesaw, which also has some communication capabilities. So there's several platforms that we'll use, but email is the chief one. So if you haven't received any emails from us, please check your spam filters, because many times from Messenger, your email service provider will recognize it as a junk email. So check that folder, adjust those settings so that you're sure to receive all of our communication. We have a good 24-hour rule with our teachers. Within 24 hours, they should be able to give you a response to your questions in your emails, but also give our teachers 24 hours to respond. Sometimes that response is, I saw your email, I read it, I need to find more information, but at least you know that they read it and are willing to communicate back with you. But give them that good 24 hours because if you send them an email during the day, they're teaching your kids, and they'll be able to catch up on emails either on their planned times or after school, but they'll catch up with you. Just be patient. We do not send a lot of paper home. Very few. In fact, one of the few things you'll get is the ASQ screener tools, which our kindergarten teachers will talk about in a moment. Those are about some of the very few things that we send home via backpacks. They tend to get lost. We do use PowerSchool. PowerSchool is our grade program. It also is very useful for lunch programs. So that's how our lunch program helps keep a balance, lets you know how much is left on your student's account and how you can re-up that account. As you get older, your students get older through St. Catherine, you'll realize that PowerSchool is a great tool to be able to keep tabs on how they're doing in all of their classes and communicating with teachers on specific assignments. Kindergarten through first and second grade, it's used chiefly through lunch communication and things like that. Grades are kept, and we'll talk about that later, but it's not really used as frequently as it is for the older grades. However, in grades, kindergarten, not so much, but definitely in first and second grade, students use agendas, and that's another great way to communicate with your teacher. Each day, the students write down what they did in the classroom. So when they come home and you say, what'd you do today? And they go, I don't know. And you say, did you go to school today? I think I did. You can look in their agenda and they have a pretty good idea of, oh, it looks like in math, you were doing some addition, and you can have that conversation with your student. In addition to Messenger emails, Messenger allows us to make mass phone calls. So if there's ever a school cancellation for whatever reason, snow days or what have you, you will receive a recorded message from Messenger. So that'll be another way that we communicate, as well as our website at stcatherinewichita.com. We do also have Facebook and Twitter, so don't be afraid to, if you do Facebook, you like us on Facebook, or you can follow us on Twitter to be able to keep up on some more information. I know our PTO has a very active Facebook page, so that's a good way to stay up on some things with PTO especially. So this is where the parent involvement gets a little tricky. Normally we have parents in our building quite a bit to meet with our students. Unfortunately, with the circumstances that we're opening our school with, the fewer number of guests in our building, the safer it will be until parents are able to return to our building in a great way. Our teachers rely a lot on our stewards and our volunteers to help in many ways, especially in the resource room and helping out in the classroom. And if you still are able to help with that on a consistent basis, we're going to have a training for those parents and those volunteers so that they know exactly what the expectations are and how they can meet those expectations later on. So look for more communication if you're interested in volunteering in the building. PTO has a lot of other ways that you can volunteer outside of the building. So I won't steal their thunder when they talk about how you can get involved, but knowing that to be in the classroom this year is going to be a little bit trickier. We do have class parties, but we might not be able to have guests. So they're going to look different. We still want students to be able to celebrate and have a good time, but they'll look different than years past, which had a lot of parental help. Any way you go, if you want to volunteer in our building, you need to have Virtus training. That's our safe environment, making sure that all parents are on the same page on how we keep our kids safe. So to be in our building, you need to have Virtus training. Every new parent has at least 1 year to be trained in Virtus. It's about, depending on who your trainer is, can be 3-hour training, but usually it's less than that. But they'll walk you through the specifics and give you examples of the things that we look for to help keep our kids safe. The school council has mandated that all parents are Virtus trained, just because it's good for all of us to be on the same page to keep our kids safe and looking at those things, those red flags and areas. So look for those trainings on our school calendar and warnings or reminders as they come up. All right, without further ado, I'll give it over to Megan McElroy, our PTO president. Oh, Megan, you need to unmute.
Sorry.
No worries.
I'm Megan McElroy, and I'm the PTO president this year. Allie Rosenhammer is our vice president, and Hillary Walbert is our treasurer. And we are still looking for somebody to be the secretary this year. Kind of what PTO does is we are a bridge between the parents and the school. So we like to help with the teachers with things that they need, but we also like to help parents get involved in the school. And there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. We can do that by being a room parent or attending PTO meetings or helping with the different activities PTO organizes. Kind of like Mr. Barr has already said, some of those activities are going to have to look very different this year, but our hope is that sooner than later, we'll be able to get those back how they have always been. And then we also coordinate things like box tops and activities for the kids throughout the school year. We will be sending a welcome letter to all the parents of St. Catherine, because by being a parent, you're part of our organization. And so we want you to kind of be able to see the different ways that you can be involved. I think that is everything, Mr. Barr, so I'm going to hand it back to you.
Okay. All right. Right on. Very good. So PTO year in review, our PTO is very successful. Our PTO does a lot of great things and working together to be able to support our students in our classrooms. Everything that the PTO does goes right back into our students and right back in our classrooms, whether it's service time or hours or the fundraisers that they make, all of it goes back to our students, and they are a tremendous help in getting, really making St. Catherine a fantastic place for our students. So she talked about many different ways that you can be involved, especially general meetings that'll be on our calendar, and we're going to have various ways for you to be able to attend, whether in person or virtually. So that's very cool. And be on a committee. Lots of opportunities to volunteer through our PTO. So please, please, please take a look at those opportunities and consider how you can help keep St. Catherine amazing, as it always is. Lots of ways to communicate with them there as well, with our general meetings as well, through our St. Catherine website, as well as Facebook and the email at pto@stcatherinewichita.com. I'm going to take a quick moment to talk about standard-based grading, which is what K2 uses versus the traditional grading. Traditional grading looks very like A, B, C, D kind of thing. Standards-based grading is a little different. And the way it's recorded in PowerSchool can look a little different too. Standards-based grading different than traditional grading systems. Letter grades tell us how a student is doing in class overall, but doesn't tell you how she is doing on a specific skill. So if you think about everything that's taught in a quarter in math class, or everything that's taught in a quarter in science class, maybe your student did a fantastic job in learning about plants, but struggled a little bit remembering the names of all the kingdoms of the animals. So the overall grade would probably balance out what they did really well and what they didn't do so well. Skills gives you a better idea that, well, they knew plants, but we got to work on the animals to be able to get them to the point that we want them to learn. So standards-based grading scale, we have the Exceed Standard ES, students able to demonstrate knowledge at above grade level and can apply it using higher level thinking skills. Some standards cannot be exceeded. So you want to think that, well, I want my kid to be able to exceed standards and everything, but if you know the Our Father, you know the Our Father. Maybe skip a word or here, then that wouldn't be exceed standard. But if you know the Our Father, you know the Our Father. You count to 10, you can count to 10. Meet standard, the student demonstrates a thorough understanding of the standard and has the ability to consistently apply it. Knew all the words of the Our Father and can do it yesterday and did it today and can do it tomorrow. Approaches standard, the student is making steady progress towards mastery of the standard, or academic warning, student is making little or no progress towards meeting the standard. So if you check in PowerSchool, this is where I said that it's much more beneficial. Not bad to check academically how your student's doing in PowerSchool, but the lunch program is probably where you're going to get the most use out of PowerSchool. But you're going to see percentages. You're going to see 100%, 75%, or 50%, or 25%. I thought standard grades weren't supposed to have anything to do with percentages, and you're right, they're not. But PowerSchool is a program, and the program looks at a scale of 4, and says anything out of less than a 4 is going to have a different percentage. So it's not quite as accurate as we'd like. 100% would be exceed standard, 75% would be meet standard, and that's fantastic. We want really all of our students ought to be at 75% meet standard, because while if you look at the older students grading scale, a 75% is a C, that's not great. But in K2, meet standard is perfect. That's exactly what we want. Approaches standard and academic warning. Sometimes approaches standard will be the first thing, and then they get more practices. They get more opportunities to prove it, and they move up to meet standard. So your teacher does a pretty good job of communicating with you. If they have issues or questions or concerns, they'll communicate with you regarding approaches standard or academic warning, or a 50 or a 25% on the PowerSchool grades. So if my child gets an exceed standard, it's like getting an A. If my child gets a meet standard, it's like getting a B or C. No, that's not it at all. In fact, our goal is for your child to see many, if not all, meet standard on the report card. It means that your child is completely ready for the next grade level. This is where a standards-based grading system, or a traditional grading system like PowerSchool, really struggles with the standards-based grading system. If you log into PowerSchool and look at all the information online can give you, you will realize the hard copy is wasted paper, because if we try to give a hard copy of everything that's on the standards base, because it's really drilled down to very specific standards, it's a very long report. So it is nice to look at it at PowerSchool rather than getting a paper copy every quarter. You'll see exactly what your child has studied and has successfully learned in that 9 weeks, which is much better than trying to print off all of this stuff. So we have mid-quarter checks on the calendar, and we encourage parents to log into PowerSchool and check to see where your student is for that quarter. Focus on teaching the child and should not get bogged down with the grading system. We ask you as parents much the same. Focus on what your child is learning and not label it as it is given. My predecessor, Betty Hunt, used to always say, when you're 30 or 50 or 80, you're not going to remember exactly how you learned to read. You just remember that you read. So kind of keeping the big perspective that some students can pick up things real quick and some students need a little bit of help, but they're all going to get what they need. And we're going to make sure that they're successful as they go through St. Catherine. Okay. And we're almost there, I promise. The ASQ&U is Kansas's kindergartenist readiness tool. And you may be asking yourself, well, I'm already in kindergarten. What do I need this for? This is a little bit of data to help your teacher and the state understand what students are like as they enter kindergarten. We already did the screener. We already did the kindergarten. Well, we didn't do the kindergarten roundup, but we had all, we got some information from your students, so we know where they were when they were in pre-K on the way into kindergarten. This kind of gives us another gauge, another assessment, if you will, to be able to see where your students are. And parents play a large role in the ASQ screener. As your kindergarten teachers will be able to speak to, they're going to give you, as you have your individual meetings with your kindergarten teachers, they'll give you some ideas of what the ASQ is and how you can help get the information to us. It's a developmental snapshot that looks at your kindergartner's development in the areas of language and literacy, cognitive and problem solving, physical well-being, and motor development, and social emotional development. The snapshot uses observations of the child's skills and abilities by families and teachers and aligns with the Kansas standards and tools already used in the kindergarten setting. So it's not just can they read, but can they hop on one foot? Can they bounce a ball? Can they identify what a ball looks like? It's a whole gamut of questions that we hope kindergartners have a gauge of as they enter kindergarten. Difference between a snapshot and a test. A snapshot, it looks at milestones, developmental milestones. So you're going to see whether or not you're going to get different tests depending on how old your child is. Assessment is going to look at the skills acquired. Obviously, we haven't had a chance to teach your son or daughter, so this won't be a test of anything that we taught. It's just seeing where they are as they enter. It provides a snapshot upon entry, not a pre or post measure. It's a brief to administer, and it's largely observational in nature. A test or assessments, which your students will do with us, Ames Web especially, it's more comprehensive. It gives us a little bit more of what they do know or assessment of what we've taught them. The administration can be lengthy and requires individual testing. So the snapshot is unique in that it's not quite a test, but we do use the information to help our students. So how will we use the data? Families, teachers, administrators, and leaders can use data-informed decision-making to plan strategically in the home, the classroom, the district, and the community. It's not a gatekeeper to keep 5-year-old children out of kindergarten, an automatic referral or for special education, or used for progress monitoring. We do use the data, and I'll have our teachers share with you what they use it for, but it's not in any way to say that your child's not ready for kindergarten.
So it's great for us to be able to see where the child is coming into kindergarten so that we can better help them in the classroom. And it's also great for the parents to be able to see where their child is at coming into kindergarten.
I agree with Ms. Herman. As a first-year kindergarten teacher, I don't have that experience of seeing the data come in, but I do have the experience of being a parent. My son was in kindergarten here last year with the fabulous Ms. Herman. So as a parent, I got to go through and do that with my child, and I enjoyed it because I could see where he was at with his learning and different skills maybe that he was lacking that I wasn't aware of. So I felt more like a part of the team of his learning, and so it wasn't that difficult or too terribly time consuming.
Very good. So when you meet with your kindergarten teacher, they'll have a packet that contains paper copies of the tool, and for the appropriate age of your kindergartner, you're going to receive an email from Ms. Tidball or the ASQ system, specifically how you can upload the snapshot online. There is a due date. We have to have everything turned into the state by September 20th. So if you could have it done by September 15th, and I realize that that time will be upon us quickly, but as soon as you can get it done, we'll make sure that we get it loaded up to the state. Again, it's not in any way, shape, or form to keep tabs on your student, but it is useful for our teachers to be able to help identify the new students that when our teachers meet in the fall, they get a chance to say, well, this student that we saw last year has these gifts and these blessings and may need some help in this area. With kindergarten, a lot of them are a blank slate. Some of them come in from our pre-K program, and our pre-K teachers are pretty good, but a lot of our students we don't know other than meeting them ever so briefly during our kindergarten screening. So this gives us just a little bit more information to be able to help them learn and be successful in the fall. So thank you very much for your time and watching the video. If you do have any questions or concerns, which I'm sure there are dozens, I completely understand. Please do not hesitate to email me at jbar@stcatherinewichita.com or Elaine Klinzik, eklinzik@stcatherinewichita.com, SAINT. Call the office. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Please do look for future communications from us regarding some of the ins and outs of how 2020 will be a little bit different than how it's been in the past. But other than that, thank you very much for watching and have a good evening.
Bye-bye.